ICP price predictions. In today's video, we're going to be addressing some speculation on how high ICP could go in the long term. We are not just talking about the next bull market. We're not probably talking about the one after that or the one after that. We're talking about true long-term vision and where we think ICP could potentially be going based on projections of where BTC could potentially be heading. Now, as I get into today's video, if you do find it useful, informative, hell, maybe even entertaining, smash that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, subscribe and stay up to date with all the content that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Let's waste no more time. Let's jump right down into today's video and take a look at what's going on with ICP and BTC. So we're going to start things off here with this one. This particular article is talking about how Michael Saylor sees the next few years for BTC, specifically with how high he thinks Bitcoin could go by 2045. In this article, Bitcoin has three possible scenarios: a bearish one, a base case scenario, and of course a bullish case scenario. Now we're going to focus on the medium rather than the bearish or the bullish scenarios, as is Michael Saylor. So for example, this tweet that he put out about a week or so ago shows here that basically a Bitcoin's price prediction or forecast by 2045, coming in on the bearish side at $3 million, the bullish side at $49 million, and the base case coming in at $13 million. Now, this is really quite an important thing to understand because for Bitcoin, there's definitely a few concerns in the terms of longevity, but if it can survive the test of time, then Bitcoin is going to be phenomenally valuable. And the reason and the rationale behind that is really because of its merits for the circulating supply, the capped supply of 21 million. But there are, of course, those concerns over the proof of work element. It's important to understand that we actually divide two things, or divide Bitcoin into two camps, right? We have the proof of work and the mining operations, and then we have the supply demand metrics for the price of BTC. These two things kind of get muddled together quite a bit. A lot of people believe that, because it's proof of work, because it's the original, it's going to always do incredibly well. And I see a lot of comments get thrown around as well with proof of work saying that basically, Bitcoin is inevitable. It has no choice but to go up in value because the mining operations are so expensive. And every time we have a halving event, the miners earn half the amount of Bitcoin that they used to. And unless Bitcoin's price moves up, they're not going to be profitable. Okay, now that in itself actually implies a problem for Bitcoin, because if the price doesn't move up to those significantly high levels, then the mining operations are not profitable and they are not going to survive the test of time. Why run a business at a loss year on year with no sign of anything coming in the future? It's very unlikely that a lot of those mining operations in the future will be as successful as they are. So proof of work, although a fantastic kind of model, is also flawed for the longer term, unless, of course, the price moves. Now, of course, what moves the price is nothing to do with the mining operations and nothing to do with the proof of work mechanics of Bitcoin, and everything to do with the supply-demand elements of Bitcoin. So in order for us to see a $13 million Bitcoin obviously has to perform well over the next kind of 10 to 15 years, because by the time we get to 2045, obviously the mining operations are going to be squeezed quite aggressively. Now, the supply and the demand are two of the key points that we need to focus on. What's going to shrink supply while simultaneously increasing demand? Well, the ETFs are a huge play, and I think that is really only just getting started. Tokenization's another. As we start to see real-world assets get tokenized, that's also going to put a spotlight on BTC as one of the key fundamental drivers behind the Web3 space. Not directly, but indirectly, if that makes sense. So I think Bitcoin is in a unique position to do phenomenally well, but it does obviously need to see some pretty different shifts and changes within the global regulatory frameworks as well. Once we kind of get true kind of regulations in the space rather than regulation through enforcement over in the US, I think Bitcoin's going to have that kind of big adoption curve, and we're going to see some pretty phenomenal numbers. 2045 is a pretty significant time period. That's 21 years from now. And 13 million is not a small price prediction. But let's hypothetically say we get there. What does this mean for Ethereum, and what does this mean for ICP? Well, we've got some calculations for that. So as we kind of think about everything that's going on with ICP, with Ethereum, with Bitcoin, and obviously 21 years is a very long time. So there's a few things here that we have to address first. One, if Bitcoin survives 21 years and, it does phenomenally well, does Ethereum also survive 21 years and do incredibly well? Now, if Ethereum does see an increase in adoption, an increase in utility, maybe real world assets getting tokenized, new dApps being built on the chain, then yeah, we could potentially see some pretty phenomenal numbers. If, of course, we do the similar kind of ratio between Bitcoin and Ethereum is today, which is basically that Ethereum is 26% that of Bitcoin, then we could see Bitcoin and Ethereum do some pretty phenomenal numbers. Ethereum's market cap would go up to $66.8 trillion. Bitcoin's market cap at $13 million would be $256 trillion. And so the ETH price prediction, if Bitcoin gets to 13 million, then Ethereum would go to $555,000, which will be a pretty phenomenal level. But again, it puts it in that same ratio that Bitcoin and Ethereum are in today. Basically, take the entire space as it is today and apply that more bullish kind of scenario of $13 million to it. So here we can see some pretty interesting numbers. Now, the question then becomes, because this whole video really isn't about Bitcoin and it isn't about Ethereum, it's about ICP. Does ICP survive the test of time? And if it does, where does it go, right? So if we have $13 million for Bitcoin, $555,000 on Ethereum, how high can, ICP go in the next 21 years? Well, for that, we'd obviously have to understand the ratio between where, our market cap of ICP is today, which is at $3.4 billion, versus that of Bitcoin's market cap today, which is $1.1 trillion. That difference between those two will probably more than likely stay the same over a 21-year period, provided that ICP survives that test of time. What does that mean for its market cap? Well, the market cap of ICP would balloon up to $810 billion. Okay, so a pretty phenomenal number for ICP. What does that mean for its price? Well, this might shock a lot of people because ICP had a really good launch when it comes to its kind of debut on the crypto space. It launched on all centralized exchanges simultaneously. It was a fantastic launch. It did phenomenally well, only to be met with an absolute disaster and an absolute crash to the downside. So this price prediction, based on Bitcoin going to $13 million and the ratio between Bitcoin and ICP today remains true in 21 years from now, then the price prediction for ICP would be $1,731. Now, I know that sounds incredibly low. It's not the numbers that I know a lot of people are hoping for over such a significant period of time. But I want to kind of stress a couple of things here. One, obviously, there's no guarantee that ICP survives the next 21 years. It's going to be a very competitive landscape. And I do imagine we're going to see a lot more in the way of mergers. So maybe ICP will survive, but be merged with a part of another entity. Or maybe it decides to take on board a whole host of other entities and becomes a superpower within the space. The other part of this is that the ratio between Bitcoin and ICP today is basically based on very negative price action over the last few years. This dynamic may shift and may change over the next 21 years, meaning that actually this price predictions are very much on the low side. But it gives you a bit of an idea, it gives you a flavor as to kind of where ICP could be heading based on Bitcoin's prediction of $13 million. You can let me know what your thoughts are on all of this in the comments down below. What is your long-term price prediction for ICP? Let me know. If you found today's video useful, informative, maybe entertaining, smash the like button. If you're new, subscribe. And if you haven't done so yet, guys, check out my second channel where I cover a lot more technical analysis on various different altcoins over there. Give it a click.